Okay, in this lesson, we're going to talk about money because really that's the point of entrepreneurship. If you can't make money running your business, it's not called a business, it's called a hobby. So this is the most important part of entrepreneurship. You could have the best idea and have the best target market, the best competitive advantage, and everybody want to buy your product. But if you're not making money, then you're not going to stay in business very long, and that doesn't help anybody. So let's talk about money. First, you need to know, how much do you want to make? So the Huffington Post did this survey, and there's this happiness benchmark. According to their survey, this is how much money people need to make every year in order to be happy in these states. Of course, right now you're in high school, most of you, and you'll be happy with a whole lot less than $75,000. You also need to know what poverty is. According to the U.S. government, anybody making below $12,314 per year is in poverty, which don't expect to get out of your parents' house and be able to afford a place to live and food and clothes if you're making less than this. So your goal is hopefully to make more than this in the long run with your business. All right, let's talk about a real example. Anna Grace was in my class a couple years ago, and she was a pretty talented photographer. So she decided to take pictures, and she took pictures around her farm, and she showed them to people that worked with her parents or that went to her church, and they all seemed to like them and said that they would pay for them. So she decided $5 seems like a pretty fair amount to sell a 5x7 picture for. She found out that she could buy a 5x7 photo from Walgreens.com. She could upload her pictures, purchase those photos for 94 cents a piece, and then sell them for $5. That's pretty good. That's a $4.06 profit. She only had $60 a month in average monthly expenses. That was just her advertising budget. She wanted to run some ads in the newspaper, do some flyers, do a couple of promotions on Twitter and Facebook, and it was going to cost her about $60 a month. As she was estimating how many she thought she would sell, she estimated 180 a year. And that was a pretty good estimate. Sales went down in the summer because she got busy and she took vacations and she wasn't around as much. And she felt like the sales would go up in December because that's when people would start buying Christmas presents and that kind of thing. Alright, so she thought she was going to sell 180 in the first year. How much do you think she made for the year? Well, if you're like most of my students, you guessed way higher than $9.18. So we'll go over this really quick. She sold them for $5. She sold 180 of them. So her total sales for the year were $900. Her expenses, that's the cost of the pictures, was $169. Her contribution margin is just this total sales minus her variable expenses. And then she had that $60 a month in advertising. So that times 12 months is $720. That left her with $10.80, and by the time she paid the federal government, she had $9.18 left over. Not too good. She was not happy. But the good news is she figured this out before she started her business because she wrote her business plan. So she decided that she could make some changes to impact that number. So she increased the price to $8 a picture. Then she changed her advertising budget to $2 a month because she felt like she could probably do most everything on social media. And she did want to buy some business cards, so she kept it at $2 a month. Now her income statement looks more like this. At the end of the year, she'll end up making $1,059 if she sells all 180 of the units. Not bad. So when you start doing your business plan financial statements, you'll need to know about 3 different types of expenses. You've got your variable expenses, fixed expenses, and startup expenses. Your fixed expenses do not change based on the number of items or service hours you sell or produce. Now, this does not mean they won't change at all. It just means they don't change based on the number that you sell or your sales volume. So, for example, if you want to put out a billboard, you call the billboard agency and they say it's going to be $500 a month. So you pay that $500 and they put that billboard up, and it's got your business name and logo on it and your telephone number. If you sell 1,000 items, you still have to pay $500 a month. If you sell 3 items, you still have to pay $500 a month. That amount is not going to change based on how many or how few that you sell. Same with rent. Same with your heating bill. Same with your light bill. Variable expenses, these do change based on the amount that you sell. So for instance, if you have a restaurant, then the groceries that you buy will be your variable expenses, because if you sell more meals, you have to have more groceries. If you sell fewer meals, you have fewer groceries. And your startup expenses, these are usually just a one-time fee that you pay to start your business. You're going to have a cash register. If you're opening up a salon, you're going to have the sinks and the chairs and scissors and capes. If you're opening a landscape company, you're going to need a lawnmower and a weed eater and things like that. Those are typically startup expenses. I should wrap this up shortly. Okay, really quickly, we'll do this example. I'm making fruit smoothies in my room. And my principal said, if you're making those in your room, you're going to have to pay me $10 a week to go into the school general fund as a type of rent or business license fee. Okay, so I have to make my fruit smoothies. How about the frozen fruit? Would that be fixed, variable, or startup? Well, it's variable, because the more fruit smoothies I make, the more frozen fruit I have to have. How about the blender that I have to use? That's a startup expense. I only have to buy it to start my business, and then after that, probably won't have to buy another one for a while. The red Solo cups, again, that's variable. Bananas, variable. That $10 a week to Mr. Smith, guess what? That one's fixed. He's not going to lower the amount if I don't sell any fruit smoothies, and he's not going to raise it if I sell 1,000,000 of them. And then the apple juice is variable. Okay, so I challenge you to do this with your business. Write down every single one of the expenses you can think of you may have, and then out beside it write fixed, variable, or startup. In the next video, we'll break these down a little more.